Hey tubies, it's Psychic Bob. Well, here I am. I'm just relaxing at my mom's house, stretched out on my bed, just chillaxing, I tell you. I know I'm getting out today's video a little late. I want to say I'm sorry about that. As many of you know, this morning I was up really early. In fact, I didn't actually go to bed really last night. I tried to go to bed, and then that didn't happen. Oh, sorry, my computer's shaking it. Don't worry, Psychic Bob's okay. I'm not in an earthquake. It's just I got my computer on this bed, and there's a lot of springs in it. So anyways, I'll try not to jiggle too much. Earthquake! Anyways, here we are. It's Saturday evening, and anyways, it's been a full day. I've been watching the royal wedding, then I crashed out, then I've been calling people that I need to catch up with, then been doing stuff with my mom around the house. So it ended up being a day, you know. But I want to at least come here and spend a little time with you and have our spiritualism class. That's right. Just so you know, as I said earlier today, by the way, if you didn't see today's video, I did a live stream this morning of me watching the royal wedding. And if you didn't see that, it's in the queue right before this one. So this is my second video of today. But as I said earlier, I was really, really tired. And I said, I don't know I'm going to do a seance. You know, as I told you, our format changes a little bit when I travel. And today I think I'm going to not do a seance because I'm just really tired and I just need to unwind. So we are going to have a little lesson, though, today in spiritualism. A lot of you have been following me over the last few weeks, and you know that on Saturday I've started teaching a class on spiritualism because a lot of you say, we want to learn about the spiritualist tradition. What's that about? And as many of you know, I am a spiritualist and I also practice Wicca. So I'm both religions. And it works for me, you know. And, you know, today I'm wearing, by the way, I've got on my blue cross pendant. The blue cross has traditionally been a sign of spiritualism. And for those of you in the United Kingdom, you probably see a lot of blue crosses on the spiritualist churches. We don't have it so much in the United States, but it's a symbol that I just really love. In fact, this pendant, I don't know if I've shown this one to you. I've got a bunch of different pendants. This one is made of carved cat's eye. It's blue cat's eye, and it just looks, see how it kind of glows? It kind of bends and holds the light, and so it's very luminescent. I think it's very spiritualist looking, you know, definitely kind of like a spirit apparition. Isn't that beautiful? And, you know, talking about spirit apparitions, last week we talked about physical phenomena. And I thought we'd continue a little bit with that today. Now, just to recap, there are two types of mediumship in spiritualism. There's mental mediumship and there's physical mediumship. Mental mediumship is like what you see when I do messages from the spirit world each week. That's when I receive messages from the spirit world and I relay those. That's called mental mediumship. The spirits work and impress upon our consciousness their messages and they speak through us. Physical mediumship, however, is a little different. Physical mediumship is when spirits pull energy out of a medium's body and use it to physically manifest, whether they manifest lights in a dark seance room, or in my case, they manifested voice phenomena and materialization. Now, just to recap a little bit for those of you who don't remember, there's a phenomenon called independent voice phenomena. And what this is when the spirits take ectoplasm out of a medium's body and they form what's called an ectoplasmic voice box. And the spirits can then speak through that and audibly be heard literally in the room. Their voices are literally in the room talking to people. Usually you'll hear them a little above the medium. Sometimes they're up in a corner of a room. But this is independent voice phenomena, and this is accomplished through ectoplasm. The other type of physical phenomena that I've experienced is what we call materialization. Materialization is when a spirit, again, takes that energy from a medium and also from the sitters in the circle. In a physical seance, everybody contributes some level of energy. And they take that energy and they mold a three-dimensional spirit body. And I have to tell you, and I know a lot of people aren't going to believe this, but I actually did at a seance have a full body materialization. I had a whole room of witnesses, like 15 people who witnessed it. And literally a body formed just out of the ground and materialized. And I wasn't able for some reason to communicate with it, but it walked around our seance circle and then it came back beside me and stood next to me. And then it literally dissolved, like it just broke down, like, like smoke cascading down to the floor and just disappeared. I tell you, if I never believed in materialization, that certainly made a believer of me. I actually did believe in materializations, but just had never experienced it. And I tell you, I was amazed because I had no idea I was a materialization medium. So this is something that's very rare. We don't see a lot of physical phenomena anymore, and it disappoints me. Unfortunately, the teacher who trained me, she was not a physical medium, but she did help me understand the phenomena. And she said, I wish I could do more with you with that, but I'm really not skilled in that. So I had to kind of learn it on my own. I also had independent voice where voices literally materialize and everybody in the room can hear them. And, I can even talk while the voices are talking, so I can prove that it's not me. So these are some phenomena that I've experienced. Now, the whole thing that produces this, though, is hinged on this substance called ectoplasm. And I thought today we'd take a look at what ectoplasm is. Well, ectoplasm, it also has another name, which is called teleplasm, because it moves outside of the body, like it teleports and moves. Ectoplasm is believed to be a substance on the coating of the cells of the body. You know how, like, in biology we had the cells, and they got the mitochondria and all the different cell parts. Well, it's believed that there's a membrane on the cell, which is a fine substance called ectoplasm. And spirits, you could think of it kind of like egg whites. You know how you can separate egg whites from your eggs. Well, ectoplasm's like that egg white substance. It comes off of the cell, and it can be combined with spirit force to create a physical manifestation. And what's really interesting about this is that during seances, they have actually conducted experiments on mediums that are physical mediums. They've put them on scales, literally had them sit in chairs or on scales during seances, and they've noticed that when the ectoplasm leaves a medium's body, they lose about 4 to 5 ounces of weight, sometimes a little more. And they can clearly, directly measure this. And so they believe that the ectoplasm is a substance physically part of the medium's body. In fact, they've done seances where they've had all the participants sit on scales, and they've been able to scientifically measure, using scientific scales, that all the circle loses an equal amount of weight. So, like, the medium will lose 5 ounces, and the next person next to them will lose 5, and it tends to, in a good circle, pull power from everybody. When this power comes off of a medium, it goes through various stages. It will start as a gaseous substance, like literally steam rising off a medium. Now, what is interesting is I have said in seances with people who have witnessed ectoplasm coming off my body. I myself never see it, but I can feel its energy moving around the room. And usually when I do physical mediumship, I don't have to go into such a deep trance. I'm usually much more present. I try to be in a mellow state, a passive state, but I don't have to go fully unconscious to do physical mediumship. And many people in my seances have witnessed ectoplasm coming off my body. And, scientists have studied this whole phenomenon of ectoplasm, and they've discovered that it's mostly consists of water. It has some protein elements in it. They're not really sure what it is. The thing is that ectoplasm can be taken from a medium during a seance and scientifically analyzed, and they have done that. In its more solid form, it resembles cheesecloth. So mediumship will start, as I said, it goes through 3 stages. So let me explain the 3 stages. First, it will start as a gaseous substance, sometimes visible, sometimes not visible. After enough is pulled from a medium, it will start to solidify and it will form like a cloth-like thing. And they use this cloth. Think of it if you had like paper mache. You can sculpt wet paper mache to make forms. And they will form into what we call rods of ectoplasm or just independent parts. Like they'll have a hand. Sometimes you'll see seances where a hand will materialize and float through a room. Well, that's ectoplasm that has solidified enough to take a physical form. And in time, what will happen is that ectoplasm, if there's enough power and it builds up, it will actually form into a full body of a human, an apparition. And when I did my physical seance, I was only trying to get a table levitation. I had no expectation of getting a materialization. So when that happened, I can tell you it really shocked me. But it made a true believer out of me. Back then, it's before we had cell phones. This was years ago, and we didn't know how to film it or photograph it. One of the things about ectoplasm you should know is that it's photosensitive. That means that you have to do these type of seances, not always, but generally in darker environments. The reason is that it is photosensitive, meaning that light, when it impacts ectoplasm, weakens it and breaks it down. Scientists who have actually sat in seances and captured elements, pieces of ectoplasm off a medium's body have been able to analyze it, but it quickly breaks down when it's in a laboratory. It doesn't sustain long. It just literally evaporates. So it's kind of like, like fairy dust. It forms and then just fades away. But they have studied it and photographed it. And so I thought today it'd be interesting to show you some of the various expressions of ectoplasm. Okay, now, before we get into this, let me tell you the pictures are a little bit graphic. This may not be good for younger viewers. And so if you're like, under a certain age, you got children, they may not be able to, you may not want them to see this. It's a little scary. All of the photographs that I'm going to show you have been verified as valid seance phenomena. The first set of photographs I'm going to show you are the formation of ectoplasm as a gas, like a cloud-like substance. What you're going to see is very similar to what people have witnessed around my body during seances. Nobody's ever seen me form solid ectoplasm except in the one materialization. But generally, my ectoplasm tends to be cloud-like, and that's where the voices come out of it. This first set of photographs are rather graphic, and it shows a young man. It's from the I believe it's 1970s this happened. They filmed a young man who was a physical medium as ectoplasm was coming out of his body. Now, before I get into the photographs, also I need to explain. Ectoplasm can come out of any bodily orifice. A lot of times it will come out of a medium's mouth. It can come out their ears. It can come out their belly button. It can actually come out the pores of the skin as well. And in my case, when it would form kind of almost like a halo around my head. So I don't know if my ectoplasm came out of my ears or just out of my skin of my head, but in my case, people have seen it around the top of my head and like near my shoulders. I believe this is because I have produced independent voice phenomena. Usually it forms up in the throat area or shoulder near the larynx and grows out from there. So that's where I'm speculating mine comes from. I'm not 100% sure. Some mediums, though, you'll see it come literally out of their chest wall or their stomach area. And that's certainly also a possibility. It can literally come out of any part of the body where there are pores. Okay. So, anyways, this first set shows a young medium who was tested, and the spirits pulled ectoplasm out of all the different parts of his body. And so I'm going to show you a series of pictures. These are authentic seance photos. So take a look at these. This is ectoplasm in what I call stage 1, the vaporous form. All right, so take a look at these. Again, this is not for the squeamish. And I should probably preface this before I show the pictures, saying when this happens to me, they don't feel any pain. They don't even know it's happening. It just happens. So take a look at these, and then we'll talk about it. Now, I should add that all of the pictures I'm going to show you in this class today are taken with infrared cameras, infrared photography. So those pictures that you saw were taken in a pitch black room with infrared photography. Now, let me just clarify. Physical mediumship has its own set of dangers. As I've said, that it's very photosensitive. It does not react to infrared light, and this is why a lot of times we also use red light. Red or infrared tends to not inhibit the production of ectoplasm. If a medium is exuding ectoplasm, like you saw in those pictures, and somebody were to turn on white light or the overhead lights or camera flash, the ectoplasm coming out of their body would retract into their body very rapidly. And it would be the equivalent of having a bungee cord attached to your body and letting it release. Okay, imagine if you had a full strong bungee cord, somebody pulled it across and released it, and it went into your body and was attached to you. What would that do? It would hit you like an impact. It would crush in your ribs, could break your lungs, could injure you. There are mediums who, in the middle of producing ectoplasm, have been exposed to light, and it has killed them and injured them severely. So if you are exploring this type of phenomena, I really encourage you, please be in a controlled environment where you have absolute control over the lighting, lest you be injured and killed. Okay? Now, so that is some of the forms of ectoplasm. You can see it came out of the mouth, it's coming out of the ears. Ectoplasm can come in part of the body, really. But it does seem to be something that originates within the physical body. And it's just that mediums tend to produce it in larger quantities. They have the ability to release that type of energy, and therefore the spirits can use it. Now, what will happen is that gaseous, it looks like smoke substance, eventually solidifies into what we call rods of ectoplasm. Will narrow down and become very taut, literally like a rubber band or a bungee cord. And at that point, the spirits can manipulate that to physically interact with physical objects. Like, so for example, like my glasses, if I had those on the seance table, an ectoplasmic rod will go to it and grasp on it. They have little, what they call grippers on it. And you'll see some pictures where they have the grippers, and it will pick things up and move them. Now, in a seance, what you as the sitters would see, generally you would not see the rod, but you would just see an object floating. Sometimes the ectoplasm becomes visible, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not actually visible, but it shows up on infrared photography. So this next set of pictures I'm going to show you is where the ectoplasm from a medium's body has solidified enough to move objects. We're going to show some seance pictures where they used trumpets. Now, let's go back here. Remember, we talked about independent direct voice. That's the materialization of a voice. Many spirits can take that ectoplasm and manifest voices through it. Sometimes they don't have enough power, so they'll use a spirit trumpet, which is a metal cone. I'll put a picture of spirit trumpet up here, and pictures from some spirit seances where the trumpet was manipulated and voices came out of it. Now again, these photos are a little shocking and scary. Please understand though, for the people in the seance, they felt no pain, it was not scary, and they actually had communications come through this form of mediumship. The medium themselves feels no pain. Even though some of the pictures are a little ghastly, they don't feel anything. And I can tell you from the times when I've done physical mediumship, I'm literally sitting there, I have no idea that rods are coming out of my body. I did do a seance where it did feel, the time when I had the materialization, I did feel like strings. It was this weird thing, like somebody's pulling strings out of my body. And I realized partway while that was happening through the seance, I said, oh my God, that's ectoplasmic rods coming out of me. Now, I was in a pitch black room. I couldn't see it. And when I touched my chest, I didn't feel it, but I could feel energy coming off me. It felt like it was strings then passing through my hands. So how that manifests is still a mystery to me. And I think for most psychics it is. But I can tell you it is real, and it did happen to me. And, I know for a lot of people say, oh, come on, Bob, this is all special effects. We don't believe it. Even though I'm a psychic, I'm one of the biggest skeptics, because I always say if we can't validate it, it's not really that good of evidence. But I can tell you in my own case, I am clearly able to validate, personally was able to validate, that this ectoplasmic substance does form and does create manifestation. So take a look at these pictures here. These are going to show what a spirit trumpet looks like, and then pictures of a trumpet seance. So check these out. So as you can see, that's a little shocking, but I can also assure you that these are real photographs. They have been documented, validated by the most of them by the American Society for Psychical Research, which was a body. I don't know if they're still around. They used to be around. I think they are still around, but they study phenomena and scientific methods around it. A lot of these seances, what they'll do is they'll actually send in scientists who can clearly validate that this is a real phenomenon, it's not fraudulent, it's not a special effect. And when you see these pictures, it's like you say, I can't believe that's hard to believe. But honest to God, please take it from me as somebody who has experienced it. I myself experienced directly firsthand from my own body. So I know people don't believe it, but I tell you it's true. I have to tell you, because I was not trained as a physical medium, I don't have a lot of experience with it. It does occasionally happen in seances, but I don't know necessarily how to control it, and I can't demand it. As I've gotten older also, I believe that when your physical vitality starts to wane as you age, all of us age, no matter how young we might look, it does affect the production of that power. I did a seance about a year ago, and I did get really strong phenomena still. So even though I'm getting older, it does seem to still be happening around me. Now, just another point about knowing about people who do physical mediumship. People who are physical mediums, especially when they're working, cannot be touched by people. When I do a public seance, I usually have people that I hire as bodyguards, literally to shield me so that the public doesn't rush on me and grab me or touch me. And the reason why that is that I did a seance several years ago. It was a large group, like 20, 30 people. And during the seance, I went into trance, and a lady's husband channeled through me. His voice came through me. Now, I wasn't actually doing physical mediumship that night. I was actually doing mental mediumship. But, as I've said in previous videos, I believe that mental mediumship and physical kind of meet at the point of trance channeling. Because even though technically most spiritualists say channeling is mental mediumship, when they come through me, their voices materialize very distinctly. I believe it's the borderline physical mediumship. Well, I had been doing a seance. I was not doing levitation or materialization, but I just come back from a trance, and this lady ran up to me. She said, "Oh my God, you channeled my husband." She was so excited. She went in to grab me and hug me, and I said, "Please don't touch me. I've just come back from trance. It's nothing against you. I just physically cannot be touched." Well, she didn't care. She was so excited. She grabbed me. I started vomiting and hemorrhaging blood from that because I believe that the contact made the ectoplasm, which had not fully retracted into my body, even though we couldn't see it, it was still present in a gaseous form, retracted very quickly and caused an internal hemorrhage. So pretty scary stuff. Luckily, I'm okay. But can you imagine, like, being a medium, having to explain this to a doctor? It's like, why are you hemorrhaging? Well, I was at a seance and spirits were coming through. Ooh, they put you in the loony bin. But trust me, as somebody who's been there, who's seen and explored the phenomena, it is a real phenomena. So anyways, I want to just have this little talk about ectoplasm today. I hope that gives you some insight. This is, again, as I said, is not a very well-known form of mediumship anymore. Back in the late 1800s up till around 1950s, this was much more common. Today it is very rare to find physical mediums. And unfortunately, I have to be honest, there were many mediums, not many, I should say, not many, some mediums who figured out how to do fake phenomena, and because they did fake phenomena, it tainted the word about mediumship. But I can tell you that there are a lot of mediums who were real. You might want to explore the names Jack Weber. He was a physical medium. Helen Duncan was a physical medium. Ethel Post Parrish was a physical medium. And the list goes on. That's just a few of them. But I hope today that that's given you some insight. And I am so thankful that you guys are here. Anyways, we're not going to have our seance. Say goodbye. I was really tired. But I hope this has helped you some today. And I'm just glad you're here. You guys are best. I love you. Sending blessings to all of you. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Be here 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time for the Witching Hour. We're going to talk about all things Wicca, and we'll see what's going on with the magical community. We'll see you back here then. I love you guys. Until then, you have a blessed day, and always blessed be.